Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Liberty, Mind, Body, and Soul. I believe it's episode 37. And we're going to talk today about foods, comfort foods versus healthy foods, and what they can do for you, and obviously, maybe help you with some choices, whether or not you're considering one or the other to help you through a little anxiety, depression, or just to keep yourself happy. Um, just before we get started, Lightbearer, how's your week been so far?
It's been pretty good this week. It's been pretty good this week. I can't believe it's Thursday already. It is. This week zoomed by. So, yeah, no, it's been a good week. It's been a good week. Been dealing with
Yeah,
trying to sell. Been able to try to sell my mom's old car. So, and all that funness. So, no, it's been a good week.
that's good. My week's been busy too. We had a big snowstorm here. I had to clear a lot of snow that kept me busy. That's always fun. But I mean, it was beautiful out though. I'll be honest. It was just a nice coating, about 6-8 inches of snow, and everything is nice and white. Beautiful, as long as you didn't have to go anywhere.
Right.
And it was
That's
help.
always the caveat.
I haven't seen this before, but they came through with the grader to do the roads for some reason. And the guy was nice enough. He actually pushed over and got near my mailbox for me with the grader, which they
Hey,
never do. So that was actually pleasant. I went out there and thinking I had to hurry up and get that done, and it was already done. So yeah,
bonus.
yeah, that was really nice of him. It might be someone I know that works on the crew. Um, that said, I mean, we can get into this a little bit. We got a few people in chat.
We
And
do.
I will give some of this inspiration for doing this to Matt Sinister, by the way, who has talked about that he's starting to see a personal trainer and stuff like that. And that made me think, in healthier food options. Thought, well, we should talk about this a little bit and see whether or not it helps with the mental state. So I found this to be very important to begin with. And then the Misfits just did a little thing about eating habits and stuff this weekend as well on the Vaping Misfits. So that was also a bonus. It just turned out right. And we've talked about it before. You and I've had discussions about
Hmm.
foods. Your diet has changed. My diet's changed since Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
and yours has changed since January. Part of your resolution, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, 14 inches of snow. Yeah, you know exactly what I mean. We got hit with like almost 3 feet the last time, and ironically, if you went 5 miles in any direction, it would cut it in half. So we got lucky. Man, inches are actual inches, Jake. Okay, so it's 2 inches of snow. It was 1.4 inches in actuality, right? Sorry, that fish was this big. Yeah, that But yeah, we'll get into it. And I'm gonna look. I did look up a couple of websites here because I thought it was important to get a little bit of background. It's not just from us, and then we'll get into what we think about it. Um, for starters, a recent study in the Journal of Physiological Science reports that turning to comfort foods can improve your mood. Data from this research showed that consuming foods that are associated with good thoughts, warm feelings, not only improves a sense of well being, but also decreases loneliness. So, I mean, that said, that's actually a. I'll put these links in the description afterwards, and well, actually, I'll put them in the comments. It'd be easier for people to find. And these, so that tells you, comfort foods can actually, can bring you back to a place in the memory sometimes. Think about um, if you have go get a piece of pie or something or cake that reminds you of like your grandmother's recipe and it's really really close, that can actually bring you back to the memory of your childhood that you really loved. Maybe even something you had on a specific date, Christmas or something, one of the last times you were with that person. If you can bring yourself back to that state of mind, it can be an amazing feeling, and it can definitely be good for mood altering if you're feeling some depression or anxiety or other um, mind altering feelings. So that said, before we switch to the next one, John, do you have any input on that about that type of
Well,
feeling?
Yeah, it's more about your relationship with food, right? And so it's okay from time to time to indulge in those things that make you feel good, macaroni and cheese, those things. But the problem comes when your relationship with food is not right. When you are using it as a crutch constantly to lift you up out of that space, I think that's when it becomes dangerous, and not good for you, right?
Yep.
But it does have its effects where it can lift your mood slightly. And it's just like everything else in moderation is the best way to go with that.
Yep. And Jake just said his diet, and I understand that the diet feel like it killing you. When I was on that Nazi carb diet, waiting for my medications to come in to help with that type 2 diabetes, when I found out that was insane. I know poor John here heard me quite a few times complaining about it. 6 carbs or less per meal was horrible. That was terrible. You'd be surprised how little you can eat and how many things. There are a few things you can eat, but it's a list of like 10 items. Here's what you can eat on a daily basis. And that doctor actually asked me, "Would you like to stay on a diet because you couldn't controlling it well?" No,
No, no,
no.
please, no.
I
Yeah,
want food. I want substance. So I get that completely, and that's where you got to balance a little too. All right, so I'll get into the next. I'll get these articles over with, and then we'll actually have
yeah,
just a discussion amongst us
sure.
and amongst chat. This one here, these are all from sutterhealth.org, by the way. From a young age, we're taught that eating helps us look and feel our physical best. What we're not always told is that good nutrition significantly affects your mental health. A healthy, well balanced diet can help us think clearly, feel more alert, also can help improve concentration and attention span. Controversially, an inadequate diet can lead to fatigue, impaired decision making, and can slow down reaction time. In fact, poor diet can actually aggravate, even lead to stress, depression, and even potential suicide. Think about that. When you can get to the point where, the suicide factor, that's the one I always worry about the most. When you can get to the
Yeah,
fact that that's actually an issue, it's really important. So if you can find something healthy that you like, that's a bonus. It's not always easy. Go
yeah.
ahead, John. It sounds like you got something you want to say on that.
Well, I was going to say it becomes cyclonic in nature, right? So you have a bad diet. In fact, for those of you who have a drive-in near you, or maybe a Sonic, Sonic is pretty much nationwide now. Um, they were rated the top in the top of the worst places to go get something to eat. Why? Because it's all grilled on a flat grill or a fryer. That's why it's fast. That's why it comes out to your car fast. It's
Yep.
hugely unhealthy. It is. It, there's no redeeming value in any of that food. But why do we go? Because it's comforting, right? So it is. You just got to make some better choices. Like I said, everything with moderation. It's okay for a bowl of mac and cheese, right? But you don't want a bowl of mac and cheese. Don't look for the largest bowl in the house, right? Everything in moderation, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the things I've had to deal with lately. Now that I can eat some carbs again, I've always been that one to get the bowl of macaroni and
Mm-hmm.
cheese.
Mm-hmm.
When it's homemade mac and cheese, it's so hard to hold back and not have a bigger bowl. That's
Right.
portion size is a big factor there that was really hard for me, and that's something I have cut down on in portion size. And I try to add another extra portion of something that is not high in carbs, so that I can, and it's healthy-ish on every
Mm-hmm.
meal. That way, there I can get that fullish feeling, but not have it. And even with that, it's smaller than it used to be. But that's one of the reasons why I've been getting a little healthier lately since
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving.
Uh, no name says chat bugged out. You might try refreshing.
Yeah, it looks
It's
like it's
moving
working
for
for me
me.
now, but mine did bug out in the very beginning. That's why I had to restart it and see a few of the comments early. And then there's another one here from Etna.com. It's the connection between diet and emotion stems from the close relationship between your brain and your gastrointestinal tract called the second brain. They're actually, believe it or not, your stomach has like its own memory. That's why sometimes if you hadn't had certain foods for a while, like if you go away from pork for a while and you go back to it, your stomach can kind of react, and you don't have. It's weird, but your intestinal tract has its own kind of memory to it, where it gets used to foods and it can digest them, and then if you go away from them, you can't digest them, or it feels like it needs them, and that's why you sometimes feel that super craving when you first switch over. Here's how it works. Your GI tract is home to billions of bacteria that influence the production of neurotransmitters. Chemical substances that constantly carry messages from the gut to the brain, dopamine and serotonin, are two common examples. Eating a healthy food promotes the growth of good bacteria, which turns your positive effects of your neurotransmitter production. A steady diet of junk food, on the other hand, can cause inflammation, hamper production, and when your neurotransmitter production is in good shape, your brain receives positive messages loud and clear, and your emotions reflect it. But when production goes awry, you might not feel so good. It might affect your moods. Sugar, in particular, is considered a major culprit for inflammation and bad bacteria in the GI tract. And then it just goes on and on. Like I said, I'll put that in the description. I don't want to go deep dive into that because it's not necessary.
I mean, many times when you get those hunger pangs, or if you find yourself snacking, it's probably because you don't have enough fiber in your diet. There's studies that have been done that fiber in your diet makes you feel full. And that comes a lot of times from vegetables, the vegetable content that you take in. And so, that nobody has ever said my favorite part of the meal was the broccoli, I mean, but
I like broccoli.
Well, broccoli is okay, right? But yeah, nobody's had it like, that's, I can't wait to have the broccoli, right? But it is a necessary part. And if you find that you just can't get enough vegetables in there are alternative means to get the fiber in your diet, which actually make you feel full, cut the snacking. And there's been some studies that it cuts down on the sugar cravings also. So,
and if you want to get more complicated with that, and even worse, is when you get into a diabetic diet. When you're doing it and trying to just drop your sugars at first to get your balance, vegetables aren't necessarily the best thing if your sugars are running high. All vegetables, whether they contain the fiber or not, this is one of the hard things for me, is to find out that most vegetables contain a lot of carbs. They just do. They might have the everything else. That's why I told the doctor no, was because I knew I needed at least vegetables and such, and I couldn't even do vegetables with this diet. Only a few things, and I was going to wind up being malnutritional issues with the fact that I couldn't eat certain foods. Yeah, actually, she does. She truly does. She loves broccoli.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want a whole plate of broccoli and nothing else.
Oh, she would.
She would.
Put a little salt and pepper on it, and she would eat it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
to each their own.
But most people, you're right. That would not work. But that's one of those things where I had to learn balance between getting I mean, obviously, you cut out as many of the bad carbs as you can, complex carbs, or just sugars in general, like a donut. I mean, think about it. That's definitely a comfort food. It should be in moderation. Candy, your pastas, unfortunately, and that's a hard one for me because I love pasta. So to cut back on pasta, that's a little difficult. And trying some of the healthier versions of pasta, let's just say there's a definite difference in taste, and it's very well known. Yeah. Broccoli and some ranch. Yeah, if you're eating it off a fresh plate, broccoli and cauliflower with ranch or something. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
But then again, the ranch kind of is a star in that one, though. The broccoli's kind of add on.
So I'm a breakfast guy, right? I love breakfast, and I hate when places mess with breakfast. Don't make it fancy. Don't put a skirt on it. Don't take it out for dinner. Just give me some eggs and some bacon, some sausage on a plate, maybe some toast or something. Don't mess with it. Breakfast is fine the way it is.
I like the way you said. I liked your little speech impediment for a second there. Don't meth with breakfast. It's like,
don't meth with breakfast.
Yeah, wait until lunch before you use your meth. I mean, no, we do not condone that behavior. Okay. But that, breakfast is an important meal of the day. That's another thing. When you're doing the carb thing, if you're really cutting carbs, in my state, I not only couldn't eat the vegetables I needed, but I had to sway toward like heavy fats and meats because that's the healthier thing to drop carbs out. But that's actually really bad for a long term diet, and I knew that, and that's why I told my doctor no and made
Well,
that
and
conscious decision.
that's another, that's another, to add some complexity to it, when you and your spouse are trying to stay on the same kind of plan, right?
Oh yeah.
But you don't like the same things, right? Like, so I could eat barbecue meat, all that stuff, and my wife absolutely is not a fan. So she'd rather you have a pizza or something like that, but I like barbecue, steak, you know, all kinds of meat is okay with me. Um, but she's not a big meat eater, which is interesting because she comes from a cattle family. So, but she's just not, she'd rather have something else. And so that kind of messes with our, trying to get the whole diet straight, where we can kind of both find something that we both like, especially when we go out. I think that's a huge hurdle for a lot of people.
Yeah, with Lady Liberty, she doesn't really care for like a lot of bone in meats. Bone in chicken's a real kind of no no for her. She'll eat some, but generally speaking, it's always been a anti for her. I mean, I got fried to a
Mm-hmm.
crisp all the way to the bone, pretty much is the only way she'll eat it. So for me, and I prefer the bone in because I feel that juiciousness to it kind of adds to the flavor to meat for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of one of those things where so often we have to cook them completely different if we really want what we want, and because it's just like that, And she's more of a bread person than I am. I'm not really a bread person. A dog says, "Yeah, I'm not either." Hear that? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's over here next to me groaning. No.
Yeah.
Hey, friction.
Uh, um, Feltus Rucker up there said, I went from having super high metabolism to being 38 years old and gaining 15 pounds out of nowhere. Now I have to watch what I eat. Minimal complex sugars and carbs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
exactly what I had happen. I used to have a really high metabolism. I could eat like a bottomless pit, and then so one day it stopped. But I was told when I was young because I had low blood sugar issues, and I had to eat a lot of more sweets than I
yeah.
wanted to. I didn't. I got
Yeah.
so I didn't like them so much. Sounds like Lady Liberty's having an issue over there. So, um, oh, we didn't give shout outs today, did we? Now, who do we got in chat so far today? How far up can you go? I can't go up all the way. Not with the programs running.
I hear you can see a doctor for that.
Hey, I can see now.
We've got Wired Talk with Big G in the house. Hey, G. Lady Liberty, no name, is in the house. Thank you for joining us. Jake Scrapwood London is in the house. Lady Liberty, of course, again. Addie Tooney. Hello, Addie. Futhus Ruckers in the house. Going down a little bit. Hold on just a second. Trying not to miss anybody. Friction Vapes is in this house. You already showed. And I apologize if I mess up your name. Benjai is in the house. I think that's it. So I appreciate everybody joining us. So I missed you. I apologize.
Yep. It's good to see people in here. And Addie was on last weekend, and I had so much fun. Really did. Okay, we're getting back to the diet situation. And by the way, I had a few complaints. The background was getting boring, so I threw the laser lights up again for in here, different ones, little higher powered ones. These are the ones, if anybody's into Discord, and they've seen them because I took a little video of me playing around in the early morning. So with this laser, it was a lot of fun. Just saying. I wound up staying up to 7 a.m. that morning. That's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe.
But maybe a few hours of playing with lasers. Laser fun. But blue cheese onion soup. You see, now that's onions is one of those things. You think onion. I thought it was always a throw in like a freebie. It's just an onion, There's nothing big to it. Onion's actually a medium onion has 10 carbs in it, and when you're on a Nazi diet of 6 carbs per meal, and you put some onion in your salad or in whatever you're eating, all of a sudden your sugars are way out of whack. And Lady Liberty
Mm-hmm.
had been on the insulin pump for a while, and we always had problems when we had certain sauces. She never understood why, and we found out onion was the culprit. So check everything you put in when you put it in, because sometimes even the things you don't expect are really high in carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Avocados have 12. I found that out with a salad. My sugar spiked over 400. I go, what happened? I ate an avocado. Seriously, I did not know that. I figured that was healthy.
Yep.
Not until I got my medications. It was not. That's where I was saying you gotta, if it is an issue and you're on that borderline cusp, you're probably, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, is you're probably better off getting a medication anyways if you might be able to handle it, because you're going to stay healthier and change your diet. Don't just get the medication and keep your diet the same. Change your diet to a healthier diet full of fresh fruits and vegetables and such. And even canned fruits and vegetables is still better than eating a lot of fats and carbohydrates. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What has a lot of sugar? Oh, onions. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know. I had no clue. I really never. We would never figure that out. We always tried to figure out why sometimes those sugars would go high, and that was the key factor we never thought of.
As the culprit.
Yep. The cat and the bunny love the lights. Oh, the lazy cat actually got up, moved, chased the lights. Yeah, she did. And the bunch, yeah, that actually happened last night. So that's another thing. If you can do something like that, and especially like after the holidays, like we picked these up
Mm-hmm.
now 2 years ago now. It was still in the box. I'd never even opened this one. Didn't realize I had it until I was going around looking for something the other day, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna put that up in the living room. So, yeah, something like that you can have so much fun with and play around. Listen to some music, turn on that while you're cleaning or whatever. Just don't stare at them because those are really bright and they kind of
Mm-hmm.
hurt your eyes. But things like that, it can brighten your mood. Just have a little fun. And yeah,
Yep.
unfortunately, the camera's not picking it up. That's red and green. It's really red and green, but they're kind of looking a little mute on the camera because of the background. Actually, if I shut off my light, they'd be different. But, when it comes
Oh,
to foods and stuff, same idea. Try to think outside the box. Helps a lot.
yeah. Speaking outside the box, Jake said shallots or green onions instead of white, yellow, or red onions.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Or what's the other one? Not scallions. Chives. Chives as well is another one. There are options there for flavor if you just want the flavor. You won't get the substance as much. Shallots actually have a fairly good amount of substance to them. But green onions and chives, they're kind of more of a filler with flavor. But I think that's why we see them a lot of times. You use shallots, chives, and green onions in Asian dishes because they tend to be the originals, not the Americanized versions, tend to be very healthy. They do. The rices they use too, they don't use the white rice, the puff white rice and stuff. Usually when they use theirs, it's authentic rice, just
Jasmine rice most
yeah,
times. Yeah.
right, which is a healthier version of the rice. So even
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to think about this, but you have to actually, if you want to make a conscious choice on this, look into the details. Just because you're eating something you think's healthy, if there's multiple versions of the same thing, there might be a way healthier option and a way less healthier option of the same product. The
Yeah,
same.
that's a good point. Reading your labels is really important. Um, the manufacturers have caught on that we want protein in our diet, right? Protein's a good thing. So the biggest thing they'll put on the front of it is 17 grams protein, 18 grams protein, right? 25 grams protein. And especially in drinks, you see that a lot. But if you'll flip it over and read the label, you're getting 25 grams of sugar per serving. And sometimes, if they're not as ethical as they should be, they'll divide like one thing of milk or chocolate milk or whatever you might be looking at into two servings. So when you double that, you're getting 50 grams of sugar for that 16 grams of protein. That's not good.
Oh,
It's,
there's a
it's
lot
another
of
way to
things. There's a lot
skirt the law.
that'll label it on no sugar added. Look at the carbs anyway because it could be it, or no sugar, zero sugar, And they look at the back, yeah, no sugar, but it's got like 50 grams of carbs per serving or some ridiculous amount. I
Mhm.
found that out the hard way trying to do that Nazi diet. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
looking
no.
through it.
The big one now is no added sugar, but it still has sugar naturally, and so that's another one, right?
Oh yeah, you know those flavor packets you put in, actually I got one in here right now. They got the pink lemonade in there. But you get those sugar packets and those packets, and some of them, even if they say no carb, zero carb, I mean no sugar, you look at the back of them, the carbohydrates are outrageous, which they're
Mhm.
not really natural. A lot of times it's the alcohol-based version of sugar when they try to make it, which by the way does digest in diabetics differently.
Yeah,
I think it's got like a half shelf life, so it actually winds up being about
yeah.
half what the normal carb would be, but
And
it's
so
still high.
I have to give this cautionary tale. And Jake says high protein diet makes passing gas smelly. Just saying, yes, that is true. But I have to have this cautionary tale for those of you who are looking for options to candy or things like that. If you get something with maltitol in it and you eat the whole thing, you will be confined to your water closet of your house, your bathroom. It has a laxative effect.
Ah,
If you didn't know that, yeah, watch out for maltitol and stuff. You can only have little bitty bits of it. If you have too much, you're going to be sorry. Gut cramps, all those things that are not fun.
and Jake, the high protein diet is one thing. When I was in high school as a wrestler, I tried a pure protein diet where I even, raw eggs, the whole 9 yards, but things that were really like had no carbs to them. Well, that's when I found I had low blood sugar issues. I actually started throwing up blood one day after wrestling
Mm.
practice because I didn't know what was going on, and apparently my stomach was not. This goes back to those, bacteria. It screws up your bacteria in your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turned out that if you take away all carbs, it's really bad for your system as well. If you try to almost eliminate them, that's another reason. From learning that is one of the reasons why. Like I said, there's a lot of reasons to it, but deciding to take the medication rather than continuing that Nazi diet I was on.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate. I mean, not to be offensive to that. If anybody's sensitive to that word, it's just I can't think of a better way to describe how bad that was. It was literally like
Strict diet, yeah,
very strict diet,
yeah.
and sugar content doesn't matter as much as
Mm-hmm.
carbs it'll get you, and it's amazing. And then we didn't found out because again her sugars are unbalanced and stuff. And when I saw my nutritionist back before for the pre-diabetic thing, before it actually switched, we found out that there was a difference to some of the alcohol sugars that they do. They don't. They're not like a 1-to-1 ratio. There's a percentage
Mm-hmm.
there when it comes to using an insulin pump. Again, it makes the math more complex. You're almost better off avoiding it just for the fact that it makes it less likely to screw up and over bolus or under bolus and potentially put yourself in danger.
Yeah, yeah. And it goes even further than just the foods you pick out. If you're cooking, there used to be now canola oil is pretty popular. It's got into everything from butter to a lot of things, right? Canola oil itself is a junk oil. It has a few benefits, but not much. It was created by scientists back in 1970. The oil that used to be used for high temp cooking was rapeseed oil, and what they found out about the oil was that it caused muscle damage in your heart, and so it's no more. In fact, the European Union doesn't even allow canola oil in things. So when you think about the canola oil, and I even had to correct my own mother about it. She was getting ready to pick something with canola oil the other day. I said, "Mom, that's a junk oil. You need to get something with olive oil. Olive oil has its known benefits. The omega-3 fatty acids in it and other things that just make it a better olive oil, all around oil. Now, canola oil can be used for some high heat cooking. There's other options out there. I'll leave that to people to check out and decide for themselves. But canola oil in and of itself is a junk oil. It's not a good oil, and it's a cheap oil. It's a filler oil, and it's used in a lot of products. So this is a cautionary.
Avocado oil, coconut oil is another option too, as
Hmm.
well. Coconut oil has come down severely in price, what it used to be,
Hmm.
and that's another healthier option. If you can get
Yeah.
the closest you can get to a natural oil, the better off you are. Corn oil, kind of,
Yep.
but a lot of corn oils they call them corn oil, but they are corn oil canola oil
Yeah.
mixes.
Well, so I
So
think we are like in of a certain age that kind of probably watches. You probably grew up watching whoever cooked in your house, your mom, dad, whoever it might have been, um, probably cooked with vegetable oil. And that used to be the big thing, but then they got away from that, right? And so canola oil came the big thing. But like you said, avocado oil is a great one. Olive oil is a great one. Avocado oil is really good. Gee, it doesn't lend a lot of flavors to what you're cooking, and it's a high temp oil, so it's pretty good.
yep.
But just experiment and look it up. But there's all sorts of ways to get around that. But I would caution anybody, and again, do your own research and look it up. Canola oil is just a junk oil.
Yeah, Jake, there's a huge difference in types of carbs. Fatherless Rucker said the same type of thing. You guys are on the same track. Just because it says carbs is not the same. No two carbs are equal. On the other hand, if you're diabetic, they are kind of equal as far as your insulin versus your blood
Mm-hmm.
sugar. So there's where you get in a complicated area. Like me being stuck on that diet was not safe because I needed the healthier carbs. The complex carbs, so to speak, the
Yeah,
natural complex carbs,
yeah,
like the fruits and vegetables when you get the fiber carbs, and those are actually
yeah,
beneficial to your body. And then
yeah,
the sugar, alcohol is net carbs, even though it is a healthier option for if you're diabetic and on insulin and you want an occasional snack, it would be better to have the one that's the sugar alcohol.
yeah,
But on the flip side of that, you don't want that. That's a moderation factor. You don't want that to be a primary because in the end, it's actually really bad for your digestive system. It's
yeah,
bad for your health, and the alcohol in it itself can eventually change the flora in your digestive system and make it
yeah,
bad. You could wind up with
yeah.
issues like digestive issues.
And Jake, I'm right there with you. I think I shiver now when I see people taking that Crisco off the bottom shelf and putting in their cart. I'm like, oh, I grew up with that. My mom would take the big white and just toss it in the skillet. They didn't know better, but
Yep.
when you know better, you do better. So
And your nut butter, yeah, you can have all that you want. Go ahead and eat it, G.
nut butter.
Yeah,
Oh, geez.
leave it to G. I know it's this is a complicated thing, but it can make a huge difference on your mental health and what you do. And like I said, when you're doing the unhealthy carbs, the comfort foods, it can be good for mood altering to help you and bring
Mhm.
you back in your severe state. But take care not to make that your primary thing. Use it in moderation. Use it when you really need it. It's really easy to fall into that. Well, I'm really feeling kind of down again today. I'm just going to continue to eat this way, and then 3 weeks go by, and that's all you've done is eat really bad junk
Yeah,
foods.
yeah. It's quickly. I would agree with the coconut butter. However, some people like myself, I get the coconut out of it, and so it's
Yep.
not the best for me when I'm trying to cook, say like chicken or something. I get the coconut flavor out of it, and it's just like, man, that's it for me.
I've heard of the Halo ice cream. I have not tried it.
Yeah,
I've ate ice cream today for the first time since this diet started. Obviously, a much smaller portion than I used to eat. So we actually had some creamsicle ice cream today, but I will check that out. Halo ice cream. That's actually
hmm,
interesting. I gotta see because I know like there are some versions of like the Italian ice. There's some versions of it that they're actually just packed full of sugar, and there's other versions that are more natural that you can
hmm.
have that actually aren't all that bad for you. So again, it comes into the whole factor.
Here's a.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, here's a good, also a great hack is stop using creamers in your coffee. Stop. Palm oil, canola oil. Look at them. They're filled with junk crap oil. And I hate to say that. It's an adult show. Get over it. Yeah, it's they're filled with junk oil. So the better alternative is what I would recommend is there are what is the name of that company? I'm drawing a blank now. They've been around forever. They're an Italian company that does flavorings. You probably see them in the coffee aisle. Um, but you can order the larger bottles, and then just heavy whipping cream, natural heavy whipping cream, and that flavoring does your coffee just like a a good cream coffee.
Well, if anyone's got like a ice shaving machine, like a snow cone maker, if you have something like that, I'm sure that there's a way to come across with like some natural fruit flavors that you could like maybe puree or something that could go over it
Mm-hmm.
that would make it taste good, but yet still be a healthy option. I've been thinking about that, but I'm not really worried about it until summertime when I really need that heat to come off. When
Mm-hmm.
it's below zero outside, I'm not really feeling the need for that cooling effect. But I think I'm going to try that this summer. So maybe might be some miniature updates or something like that on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do some side video of some outside stuff as it gets better weather and I can travel around outside. For a little uplifting nature walks and such like that. I just
Yeah.
To me that I like those kind of things like when Bogan did his videos of his drone footage and all that stuff in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I watch that over and over again because it's just nice, relaxing, beautiful climate. Just one of those things where
Yeah.
it can bring you out. I mean, if you can actually do that too, a lot of times it's a visual. Think talking about comfort foods. Comfort foods doesn't always have to be flavor. It could be the visual on your plate. That if you get
Yeah.
this big sloppy looking mess of really healthy food or really bad food even on your plate
Yeah.
versus having a really well organized looking plate that looks really
Mm-hmm.
appetizing to your mind, that can make a difference in the way you feel about eating it and the way it makes you
Yeah.
feel.
It was a Tarani syrup. It's there in chat. And what I would recommend is the hack that we personally did in this house is that I went to a restaurant supply that carries it, and you can get the big glass bottles for what you buy, like the ones you buy at Walmart. And so that's what we did. We bought the like you'd see in a coffee bar back behind. You see all the flavorings, but that's what we did. We bought those, and they shipped them to us for free. We got so many of them, different flavors for different things, and we've been really, really happy with them. That is probably the number one flavoring in the world for coffee bars and things. And it's at the like I say at the store they're probably they look like a little ketchup bottle for $5. You can have the full glass like whiskey bottle size for the same cost if you buy it through restaurant supply. So it's a little hack.
All right, so send me the link to that later.
Okay.
But yeah, with the flavorings and stuff in your like coffee, it can work for multiple things too. You can even use that
Mm-hmm.
flavoring in foods and such as well. There might be some things like the hazelnut. I've seen people use that in cooking before. The hazelnut
Mm-hmm.
pump. You can use a little of that in your cooking if you want like a flavor. Like I actually like
Mm-hmm.
coconut chicken, so I don't mind the coconut. But even then, even if you like it, it's really easy to burn coconut oil. Really, really easy. Whereas like you were saying, a high temp, if you want a high temp oil, you're better off with some of the other options. And I
Yeah.
and the other thing is a cost factor. A lot of people are going through some financial crisis, like most people are. That's where it gets into a factor where it might not be possible for you to afford everything. So just change what you can. Do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. Like I'll admit, finance is a little bit of a factor on what I was able to eat when I was under the other. Because to be honest, you're trying 6 carbs or less per meal and trying to keep it healthy. You either have a limit of like 10 ingredients you can actually eat that you can afford, or you're going to have to spend hundreds, if not $1,000 a month on extra foods just to make yourself work within that parameter. And that's
Yeah.
another factor to get the medication rather than deal with that. That would have been unhealthy.
But I do encourage everybody to read the back of the package. It's not something I used to do. My wife really got me into that. She has diabetics in her family, and so flipping it over and reading it will stop you from buying some of this stuff, no matter how much you want it. You know, you flip over that package of, let's say, hot links, right? You flip over that packet of hot links, and when you see the nitrates, the amount of nitrates that are in there, are known to give you problems with your heart and everything else, harden your blood vessels, you'll toss it for something else. We've gone to places like the natural grocers and things, and we purposely look for bacon that doesn't have nitrates in it, and different things. And it's actually good or better than the bacon that's been treated with the nitrates. It's just a preservative for shelf life, I believe. But those little steps, making the little push, going a little farther, will benefit you in the long run. But I'm a big proponent of reading the labels on everything.
Yep. That can go into when you buy anything, or in general. The more you know, as we from the advocacy side of thing, I've learned that you can't trust everything at face value,
That's
and that
true.
definitely goes for any advertising. You
Yeah.
gotta kind of really trust where the source is coming from, and you have to trust where they're getting their source from, because it's
Right.
possible they're trusting in someone that's mistrustful. So it's like
So,
it becomes complicated. But when it comes to
right.
foods, that's hard. We can't tell, like growth hormones.
Yeah.
There's no, in a lot of cases you cannot tell unless it says growth hormone free, and even then, like grown organically grown, seems instances where it's organically grown, but it's kind of a chemical situation where they use
Mm-hmm.
organic and chemicals. So it's like there's so many factors that you can't 100%
I
trust anything without looking into
it's
it.
just the greatest one I see all the time, and just because I know, is the one that says we don't use any antibiotics in our chicken. Well, nobody does because the FDA says you can't. So, I mean, it's just another sales tactic, right? And so it's things you really need to watch the advertisement and the labels.
Yeah, no sugar added's the one that's really getting a lot of people, because they'll grab something off. Oh, this cookies, no sugar added. Yeah, look at the carbs in the back. Hey, look at the carbs in the back of one with
Yeah.
sugar added. Hey, there's more carbs in this one. What? Yeah,
Yeah, that's like I
wheat
said, I had
bread,
to.
wheat breads and stuff like that. Like the when you get the whole grain ones and stuff like that, they sound healthier. Look at the back of some of them, and there's some of those. Some are okay, and others it's not even worth the fiber benefit. It's not. If you look at the difference between that and like not necessarily your standard white bread, because then you have bleach fibers, and there's a
Yeah.
possibility that you might want that. But if you're comparing two types of, like, say, oat nut bread, there
Mm-hmm.
can be one that seems and looks so much healthier. You read the back of it, and it's like, if you have any problems with blood sugar, stay away from that thing. The other one might be better. And there's so
Yeah.
many things that claim like low carb pastas. Low carb to who? Because you read the back of that, that's not really low carb. No, it's actually within like 1 carb per serving of the
Well,
regular good pasta.
and so you've got your good low carb pasta. Now, what do you put on it? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? You've got to watch every aspect of it. So
Tomatoes,
it is.
extremely high in carbs. Just saying. They're way up there. Your best
So
idea for a salad dressing, if you're looking for something generically low, and this is actually individual per manufacturer, is probably like your Italian dressing. There are some
mhm.
Italian dressings that are nearly zero carb, or I think we actually the one we use is zero carb. But there's also Italian dressings that are 15 carbs per serving per tablespoon.
Mhm.
Not talking about per big amount, per little
Mhm.
driplet, pretty much of it. And
Yeah.
these are things that I mean, like I said, don't. This is a tough one. This is going to be a personal choice. It's going
So,
to be a hard thing to grasp. But just like anything else in life, maybe you need to research what you're eating. And maybe that could help you feel better in the long run. And that can go for your comfort foods too. If you can find a comfort food that's a little bit more healthy but tastes just as good or even better than the
yeah.
one you typically use, that could benefit you as well.
Yeah.
And you can eat twice as much comfort food. No.
But everything, like we talked about when we first came on, everything in moderation is a good thing. Um, every once in a while, a little mac and cheese, okay, you know,
Yep.
but don't make it the staple of your diet. Um, and I think as I get older, I look at like things that I want to eat. Like the other day, I had a craving for fried chicken. I was like, man, I want some fried chicken. And then when I thought about how it's processed, how it's fried, that instantly went away. Um, I think it's just the knowledge. Get the knowledge in your head and think about choices. Moderation will all help you have a better balanced diet and feel better about yourself. and actually feel better. So
Yeah, YouTube actually has been terrible for audio again. I've noticed we've had a few different shows I've watched this week where the audio goes up and down. So
nice.
it seems like they probably reinstated part of that update they had a few weeks back, and it's affecting some channels.
Hmm.
I hate that. I
Yeah.
absolutely hate it.
My goal, though, I saw Fuzzle Strucker put in there. That's a big point, right? Find healthy alternatives to your junk food helps a ton. I hope uh, the what is it? The popcorn cakes, whatever those are. I hope those go away. I hope those are a dinosaur that dies. There's, that's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. Styrofoam is what they are. So that I don't know anybody that picks them. Like, ooh, I can't wait to eat those. No,
Not
nope. I'd
unless
rather.
if you get the flavored one with the sugar on them or the caramel
Yeah.
or whatever, that's good. But then you're not eating healthy. It's that's supposed to be a healthy food. I'll get it, and then you like
Right.
read the ingredients. It's like that's not that healthy. And then you get the ones that are healthy and try them. It's like
Yeah.
wafer board.
Yep. It's like
Yeah,
eating your gas station cooler, right? That you picked up your styrofoam cooler, right? Yeah, that's it.
the cooler
Um,
has more flavor because of the things you had in it before.
yeah, well, that tastes like Coke. That's weird. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just all about choices. Um, and if you find yourself where you're not particularly good at keeping the straight and narrow, try a food diary for a little while, right? Um, and Tim and I are both big on diaries. If you can do a diary, do a food diary, and then if you're feeling particularly crappy, go look at what you just ate
Yep.
that day. If you're having a part time, it's everything is connected. Everything is connected. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, with the way the show goes, it's actually I have it recommended quite a few different diaries or notepads and stuff like that to keep track of things.
yes.
And before you know it, you're going to have a little library of these things. But these libraries can actually help you. You think about it. If you have a library full of get well books, this is your get well books that work for you. So
Mm-hmm.
it is actually not as bad as it seems. It'll look ridiculous at
Yes.
first, but after a while, once it gets complacent and normal in your life, it is a good idea to keep track of these things, especially if you feel like, and if you have digestive problems.
Mm-hmm.
Write down. Maybe you'll find out, like we found out with the onions, with them being a high carb part of the diet that we didn't realize. Maybe you'll find a trend of, wait a minute, what's exactly in everything I've been eating? You might find something. Another thing that's good for most people, depending if you're not sensitive, is having some kind of like hot pepper in your diet, like a jalapeno or not a high hot
Mm-hmm.
pepper, but having a spice in your diet if you can handle it. And even if you can at first, work it in a little bit. Once you can get used to it, it actually is really good for a digestive system. It cleans you out, and it actually creates a way of you absorbing the proper things rather than and kind of shed some of the bad for you. It
Mm-hmm.
does it itself, and there are oils in there and such that are really beneficial to your body. And these are things that people don't really realize. My nutritionist actually mentioned this to me, and I had heard it before. Of course, the dog's going nuts again. So, so
Well, I saw Bajai he put in there uh, is it the dairy food what causes all the disease? I don't know. I'm not an expert, or maybe you were making a statement, but I do the ultra filtered milk that reduces the sugar and also improves the protein count, um, which is a little bit easier um, on me personally. I just see it as a better choice in looking at it. So I would recommend not all milk is the same.
no, it's not. And like I said, one of the big factors in dairy food and milk is that growth hormone factor. Hopefully, I'm still alive because it looked like you froze. The dairy factor, if anybody can still hear me, just a second. Yeah, it does look like, at least for now. Dairy is definitely a thing where there's different types, and you can't even always tell off the label. This is one of those things where you need to research and check into things. Growth hormones aren't always, and it doesn't say growth hormone free. It's probably not. And then there's the fact that even with growth hormones added or not, it depends on. Yeah, there he goes. Raw milk. I agree with you. I like bulk tank milk, right straight out. But again, like our farm didn't use growth hormones, but I knew some other farms where we grew up did. So you can't really tell for sure unless you know the farm. The best way to get milk, like when we had the goats and we were milking the goats. Believe it or not, goat milk, if you get the right type of goat, it actually tastes the same as like 2% milk, straight up. It doesn't taste any different. Then there's also the cheese milk goats that is completely different, and that tastes like buttermilk. Powdered milk of the kid, that's not the same either. I mean, actually, that tends to be a high fat content, like a buttermilk milk, and it might necessarily possibly have more, you know, artery clogging factors to it and such, like the extra oils and such. Because it has to be that in order to powder it properly, it has to have the extra fat content. That's why it's really good though to use like powdered milk as a substitute when you're trying to make something with like a cream in it and you don't have any cream available, or something you want a really rich milk flavor, rich sweet milk flavor to it. And I'm sure John will be back in just a minute. His computer probably just flipped out at him again. It's been doing that every now and then. Yeah, bulk tank milk. Yeah, unless you know the farm, you can get it. You can't buy it legally in most states. I believe here you can, but it is at your own risk situation. Like if you do get sick off it, because the bacteria in there have not been processed, so it's potentially possible you could. So you got to really trust the location you're getting it from. Powdered milk is horrible. Horrible for using. I've had to use it before for cereal as growing up, and because I didn't grow up in a really high income home. And then I've also had tried it in recipes before. And when we had some laying around, because there's some recipes that cover it, but you tried it in recipes. If you mix up a powdered milk, it can typically replace almost a buttermilk flavor to something. Yeah, goat's cheese. We made goat's cheese. It's delicious. It really is. My favorite is to make like it's almost a ricotta. It's not quite a ricotta, but it's almost a ricotta out of it, and that was actually really good. We made this nice spread. You can use any herbs and spices. Like think of anything you can put in to make like a dip. Here's Light Bear. Anything you can make like a dip out of for like when you mix with sour cream, you can make into goat's milk. So and making a goat's cheese. Yeah, I figure computer decided to go.
Yeah, there's the American Dairy Institute trying to shut me down. I won't be silenced though.
Yeah. They'll talk about goat cheese and goat milk because we had the goats and like we were milking them, and honestly, there's a couple different goats that were really good for drinking, and there were some. And I'll be honest with you, I had those goats for 1.5 to 2 years before I went back to the farm, and I wanted to try get a different goat, a different type of goat for the cheese, a more rich cheese, and I had to get the goats. I had to test their parents' milk. And I was skeptical of this because I was still on the whole thing thinking it tastes completely different. It's really not. It's truly actually like all it is if you get like a drinking milk goat, it tastes more like 2% milk. Now there's, like I was telling them, there's also like a buttermilk almost to the heavy, to the ones that are made towards cheese, the ones they're milking for towards cheese. And the same with cows. There are some cows that give off a richer milk than others, and sometimes they can even be the same breed, yet there's the heritage in them. They'll actually genetically heritage in them. You can actually look it up and see who produces more of the proteins.
I think there's a special milk for that.
Yep.
That I can't think of right this second. I'm sure somebody will come up with it in chat, but it's supposed to reduce a lot of those symptoms. It's bred especially for that.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the ways I try to be most healthy is try and make things either at the house, on the property. Mm-hmm. Like last year I made my own maple syrup. Turned out great, by the way. So it's, then now that I can and can't hardly eat maple syrup, I can have like a tablespoon or two here and there. Now that this year it's not, I've got almost everything for it, and I'm like do I bother? Do I not? Do I bother? Do I not? Because I don't have anything to do with like true production run. I'm gonna get like 2.5, 3 gallons for a season if I do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's for me and my family, which would be great. But is it worth it when I can't eat it? I mean, what I have from last year still will be good for another year, and that's enough for me to last through the next year with the way I can eat it now. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
see, that's a downside. But also the berry plants and stuff out here. I'm gonna do more berry plants as it goes on. A few fruit trees here and there. That'll take a few years to come in, but I'd like that way there. I can be sure where it's coming from. I know that not everybody has access to land, but if you do and you can grow your own food, then you know whether or not it's GMO free. You know whether or not it's got pesticides on it. Or if you use pesticides, use the ones that stay on the ground, like maybe a diatomaceous earth. That's a good one to keep some of the pest off, and that is natural.
Mm-hmm.
Versus someone spraying a bunch of chemicals on your food that goes into your food, and then you digest that food, and then that's in your body. And at first, it won't bother you a little bit here and there, but it can build up over time and make you react or cause cancer. So it's, I prefer to know where things come from. That's just me.
Yeah.
I've actually thought about doing like a community garden on part of it. I have enough land I could do a nice big community garden, but then I'd have to have people around, and unless it's someone I really like, I'm not so sure about that. So like John, if you move closer, we might do that.
Never know what happened. Yeah. Get 2 people down that way. They might actually run good fiber internet down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Living on literally the end of the line, because this house in front of a throughway comes from this way. That's the last house on the line. So guess what? I'm surprised I don't have more issues than I do, to be honest with you. I mean, I'd love to be able to broadcast in 4K, but there's just no way with the internet here. It's not possible. As it is, we have to shut off all other devices whenever we do this stream. Lady Liberty is on her phone using her 4G connection. So that says anything. I'm using my 4G connection for me being in chat.
Yeah, so. I feel that. So,
but
well, we better start to wrap it up. Give people a little time for before Grim Green comes on. Little lax time, bathroom trip, whatever they need to do. Little bio break. Hey, we appreciate y'all joining with us. So,
yeah, cheese. There's another thing with cheese. Look up the ingredients on the back of your cheese, because there's no such thing as an equivalent for cheese at all. Unless you're making it yourself, you don't know for sure unless you read the ingredients or more the nutrition. There is a huge difference. I mean, when it comes to carbs alone, you'd be surprised how many you can go to one grocery store, flip over like the same cheddars but different brands. This cheddar has 10 grams. This cheddar has 2 grams per serving, and then this one has 0. What? That doesn't make any sense. And 0 sounds good, but doesn't that make you wonder what additives are in there to replace that in a cheese? So it's like, so it is, like I said, research what you eat, because the body's your temple. You want to keep track of what's going in it. And comfort foods are good in moderation. They will help you if you're having a bad day, but don't make it your regular diet.
Yeah.
Love you, fam. Thank you for being here again tonight. I hope you got something here. And if you have any suggestions on content or have something that's very important to you, please put it in the comments. We will look into it and see if it's something that others might be interested in, or maybe we'll just go ahead and go with it. So, that's the best way for us to serve you in trying to figure out what you guys would like to talk about, and we'll look into it for you so you don't have to, and maybe we'll have some personal experience with it, because there's a lot of life experience between me and John. So that helps. Yeah, and the Doldrums is coming up the end of this month. Get your $5 ticket. It is open to the public this year. It's not just a Philadelphia thing. That's going to be amazing. If you didn't catch the live music last week on Tenacious TX channel with Emily Drinker, that was amazing. So that said, there might be some future music episodes coming up. Here are a few little clips. I have 2 people on tap for possibly playing some music on the show. So, awesome. I mean, if anybody else likes that, just let us know, because I actually love the idea of a little live music every once in a while. And thank you again. Thank you for Addie and everybody in chat for hanging out. And
Thank you. We truly appreciate you all stopping by and hanging out with us.
yep. Love you guys. Go ahead, John. Say your outro.
You know, be good to each other. This is a positive year. Let's spread some positivity. Let's rebuild what 2021 burned down, or 2020 burned down, and let's make 2021 a good year. Love y'all.
Reach out to those you haven't heard from, and make sure that if you know someone's struggling, you reach out to them as well. You know, it could save a life. That's important. You never know what they're going through. Peace.
Yeah.